have such sights to show you. Welcome to Nightmare on Elm Street.
I think I can control myself.
It's got a death curse.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello.
This is Josh, Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. Today I am joined by a very special guest. I have Mr. Nikolai Leon. You may know him from the most recent film, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, along with several other films, The Killing Tree, Alien Invasion, and Exit. Thank you for coming on the show. How are we doing today?
Very well, thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah, of course. So it's pretty late over there, I'm guessing. It's about 7 o'clock.
It is, yeah. It's coming on to 9 now, soon, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
Wow, I was off.
I'm a night. I'm a night owl, so I prefer night time than the mornings. So it's all good.
I hear that. I'm a night owl as well. My wife goes to bed at like 8, and I'm up till like 1 or 2 in the morning, just hanging out. So totally get it. So your movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. From what I saw, it did really well in the cinema. I actually saw it. I didn't get a chance to go see it in theaters. I saw it on Peacock. I've watched it several times since, just to kind of like, catch things if I've missed them, or and I really enjoyed it. It's these movies that are taking on old characters. Like, I guess there's going to be a Steamboat Willie movie coming out, and a Bambi movie and stuff like that. I find it really interesting to see where these directors and producers take these iconic kids movies and turn them into something very horrifying. But it must have been a fun part or a fun thing to be a part of.
Absolutely, yeah. I've always also been a big fan of. There's something very twisted and cynical about changing childhood characters into demented monsters. But it's kind of what's I think what grabs people's interest the most, is seeing just how they're lovable characters that they've grown up to love so much, how the years have been rough on them.
Yeah, no kidding.
I enjoy that. Really, I like it.
Very, very nice. And looking at your past history, it looks like you've been in quite a few like kind of horror-ish films and like very dark films. What got you started into horror films?
To be honest, the Exit was like a college project. Was just helping out. Was my first ever kind of film, but it was just again a horror. And then my first ever film that I'd done with Jagged Edge was The Killing Tree. I played Alex, and I only got that over a good friend of mine, Charlie Esker, who sent me a link to one of their casting calls, and I just sent my show reel and my headshot over to Scott and Jagged Edge, and that was it. And then I got the role for Alex, and then after that they called me for Christopher Robin for Winnie the Pooh.
Very, very nice, very nice. Well, I think you did a fantastic job as Christopher Robin. I really enjoyed. I it sucked that we didn't get to see as much of you as I would have liked in the movie. You had like some parts in the beginning, and then you had like a little bit sprinkled in the middle and at the end. But I was hoping for more for Christopher Robin. But I really did enjoy.
I was only meant to be in for the intro bit, but then they had a few. They wanted to I think continue on with more with Christopher Robin's story. So Christopher Robin was just meant to be killed off in the beginning intro bit. That was meant to be Christopher Robin done, and then they would follow the stories of the girls. But then they decided, I think, that they wanted to focus more on Christopher Robin's story and his relationship with, Winnie the Pooh, because it's such, iconic characters to a lot of people, I think. So they called me back for those last reshoots, the torture scene and the explosion scene. That was not initially in the official original scripts. But yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that opening sequence, my heart really hurt seeing like your fiance getting killed, and just the turmoil that put on you, and also dealing with your once very dear friends, becoming very twisted and more animal-like, and just cold-blooded killers. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, he didn't have the best welcome back, did he?
Oh, not at all. So, if you could work with any director, living or deceased, who would you like to work with?
It's a very good question. I'd say my top 2 favorite directors is Martin Scorsese and Tarantino. I just love that whole crime drama, classic, old school gangster. I just love the way especially the way they interpret music into their films in such a way that, and just the performances over the years that they have created, it's just so realistic, and I don't know, it's just some of the stories that they bring to the screen is just amazing. I think working with those type of directors would be just mind blowing, just to see,
Yeah.
just even to just be an extra on their sets, just to see how they work, would be incredible.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Guy Ritchie as well.
Sorry, what was the last one?
Guy Ritchie as well would be quite interesting to work with as well. I'm quite a fan of his work as well.
Very, very nice. It's funny, I had another actor on here. He was from the Final Destination films, and he had a very similar answer. He did say, I believe he said both Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. So that's funny that you both want to work with him. Maybe both of you will get the chance someday.
Hopefully, that would be awesome.
So for you, how was it facing off against such iconic, childhood characters? Like, just looking at them and being like, wow, like so many kids watched, these old Disney movies and even read some of like the older stuff before, Disney had their hands on Winnie the Pooh, and just taking these characters and having to go toe to toe with them and, fight to survive.
hmm I'll be honest, I was never quite that big of a fan growing up with Winnie the Pooh. Growing up, I never got into Winnie the Pooh. I was more like Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
yeah, Scooby-Doo. I like more kind of the mystery, yeah. But then when I initially heard the concept of Winnie the Pooh becoming a killer, it's kind of laughable at first, but then once being there on set and he's got the mask on and the outfit, it's quite intimidating, and it's such an iconic character to so many people. It was really an honor, I think, to be a part of that whole world, I guess.
Very, very nice. Do you have a favorite memory from being on set?
I'd say the explosion scene was super cool, just because I've never filmed with that amount of action. It was super cool, but the only thing that I didn't enjoy was the weather. The weather was dreadful, and the mud. It wasn't even mud; it was like clay. So when it dries up, it's very heavy, and yeah. But
Wow.
it turned out, I loved that scene. It was very cool.
No, yeah,
It was just,
that ending was tough.
yeah, working with Craig, the actor that played Winnie the Pooh, Craig Downsett, he was always a pleasure to work with as well. He was super lovable. He's just like the complete opposite of what he's playing. He's the most sweetest, lovable guy, and yeah, it was fun to work with him.
Yeah, no, for sure. I could tell. I follow him on Instagram as well, and I saw that he was in Switzerland, doing and
Yeah, yeah.
hanging out in Switzerland, and he looks like he's having a blast. He seems like a really cool guy.
He's very cool. Yeah, he loves his nature, nature,
Oh yeah.
mountains. Nah, he's very cool.
Awesome. What is one role that you've always wanted to play but never had the chance to?
I've always been fascinated with Ghost Rider. I feel like that's a superhero that needs to be explored more. I read a few of the comic books. I was actually quite a big fan of the first Ghost Rider film with Nicolas Cage. I actually, a lot of people hated on it, but I really enjoyed that film. I thought it was pretty badass. So I think Ghost Rider would be a very interesting character. I mean, he's not a superhero. He's a bounty hunter, a demon bounty hunter. He drives a Harley, and I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than that. And if I'd say another character, I've been a massive fan of a comic book series called Fables by Bill Willingham, and there's a character called Big B Wolf, and he's basically the big bad wolf that we know from the fairy tales. But in this universe, it's all the fairy tales that we know have escaped from their homelands and now live in a modern day New York. And Sheriff Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf, is like the sheriff of the town, and you have Snow White, and it's just like a dark interpretation of the fairy tales that we grew up on. I guess kind of similar to Winnie the Pooh, I guess, but it's like a dark noir mystery, and it's such. If anyone is into comic books and kind of likes that sort of dark noir style, then check out Fables. It's amazing series. But
Yeah,
that's
it definitely sounds interesting. Yeah, I think I'll even check that out. That sounds pretty cool. I like the grim fairy tales, like the dark tellings of like those stories. So that'd definitely be a cool comic to look at.
Yeah, some of
Thank you
these
for
fairy
recommending
tales are super creepy. No problem. It's awesome. There's a game as well called The Wolf Among Us, which is based off the comic book series, which is amazing as well.
Okay, I've heard of that video game. I haven't had the chance to play it, but I have heard of that video game before.
It's awesome.
What horror film has had like the biggest impact on you? Whether that was making you frightened growing up, or just really sunk into you. Do you have any horror films that have done that for you?
I think there's a lot of horror films where you finish them and you feel like, wow, okay, I got through that. It's like a roller coaster,
Yeah.
But the one horror film that I've watched and I continue to think about, what was that film? What was that all about? And it's definitely The Shining with Jack Nicholson. I feel like that film has so many layers. It's like an onion. There's so much to analyze in that film, and it's just like the whole time you're watching it, you're like, what is going on? You almost feel like you're also going as crazy as Jack Nicholson is, And I just think it's such a well done film, and yeah, I really like that film, and I also really like Ghost Ship. If you've ever checked that out, it's also a pretty cool film.
I believe so. That was if I'm correct, that was the one that had that very that opening scene where all the people on the ship die, and it's pretty graphic.
Oh yeah, where they're all
Oh, yeah.
dancing and then the wire cuts them all. Oh man, I'll never forget that scene. Yeah.
that, especially when the father looks down on the daughter and his like, yeah, and he like his face like, oh man, that, yeah,
No,
that's gonna haunt
yeah.
my dreams.
You know about.
um, and speaking of The Shining, have you seen the sequel that came out with Ewan McGregor?
I haven't. No, I haven't. How is it?
It was pretty good. I really enjoy him as an actor, and I really liked seeing like how Jack Nicholson's son grew up after such an event, and how his life went after all the events of The Shining.
When did this film come out?
Oh gosh, it's definitely been at least I think 3 or 4 years. It's called
Okay.
Doctor Sleep.
Okay, I'll check that out. Thanks for suggesting that, because I didn't even know there was a sequel, to be honest. The same way with
Yeah,
Psycho, with Alfred Hitchcock. I didn't know there was sequels to those films as well. I haven't seen them either.
yeah. I haven't watched those either. I've only watched the original of the. I knew that those existed, but I haven't brought myself to watch them yet.
Me too.
um, so, in your opinion, what would be the worst way to die?
Oh man, so many beautiful ways of dying, isn't there?
Oh
I've
yeah,
I've always been a big hater of just small places, very tight places. Like I have a big fear for claustrophobia, and I just feel like being stuck in a very uncomfortable spot, like yeah, just like in a cave or something like that, being trapped, crushed almost. Like I feel like that for me, and then just slowly dying for me. I don't know. That for me is
oh
just the scariest.
right. That
Yeah.
that kind of falls in line with how I feel. Like I've always been about either suffocation or drowning. Um, Mainly like suffocating. Like I hate. I'm pretty claustrophobic too. One time my school took a trip to this mountain that's out here, and they had these things called lava tubes, and there were like these tunnels that were like carved out like with lava and like the natural tunnels that were created at this mountain, and they were just so tiny, like, and you didn't know where you were going. It got so dark in there. It was like I did it one time, and I swear I almost died of a panic attack just being in there. It, oh man, I
Terrifying.
could,
I don't
yeah,
know. I hate it. I hate it. I hate, just being like, if you make the one wrong move and you could be stuck, or like you just don't know where you're going and you're, no, I can't. No,
yeah,
not a fan.
never again. Oh
Lesson
man.
learned.
Um, so I like I said before, I really loved how you portrayed Christopher Robin in this film. I really liked your take on the character, being a much older Christopher Robin. How did you prepare for this role?
Um, I watched the film Christopher Robin, which was a very good film, and just interesting seeing, an adult Christopher Robin, and where his life goes after that. I really liked that film. I read a few of the books just to kind of get an idea of the original context, and I guess I went into this film with the mindset of it's kind of weird, but I thought to myself, like, let's say, all the toys that you used to play with when you were a kid, like whether it's a Lego or Batman or whatever, Barbies, and how would those toys feel if you return to them now, after not playing with them for such a long time or abandoning them, and I guess how Christopher Robin did with Pooh and his friends when he went to college. So I guess I kind of went in with that sort of, and another thing that kind of interested me about the character was, is it all just in his head, these characters that he's seeing? Is it all just part of his subconscious that he's, created these kind of imaginary friends for his own, loneliness as a child? Or are these actually these, creatures who do in fact exist? So that was also another kind of interesting
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, and playing off of that, if you took that and made that really dark, if it was his imagination, if that was him killing everybody, like, and
Oh
blaming
man,
it on characters, that would be so twisted. Ooh.
that's like a great idea. Yeah,
Right?
very
Um,
twisted. It's like
yeah,
he's causing all of these awful crimes, but he's, blaming his childhood friends for it. Yeah.
yeah, that would be a pretty twisted movie. Um,
Heard it here first.
and I love how you mentioned Christopher Robin, that the film that came out, that also has Ewan McGregor in it. I thought he did a really good job playing an older
Yeah.
Christopher Robin as well.
Absolutely, yeah. He's an amazing actor, yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie? Speaking of him, have you ever seen the movie Big Fish?
I have. Is that Tim Burton?
Yeah.
A lot of people have been telling me to watch this film, and I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, so it's definitely on my bucket list. But no, I haven't seen it. But yes, I
Yeah.
shall. I
Oh,
loved him in
wonderful.
Train.
Oh yeah.
Was that?
Yeah. No, he's definitely up there on my actor list. For
What's Big
for
Fish
such a
about?
like a
Oh, definitely.
So it's a story of a young man who lives in a very small town, and he goes off on his own. But it's him telling the story through the eyes of an even older version of himself, as he's knowing that he's getting closer to his deathbed. And he's sharing these stories, and like you find out that he shares these stories with his whole family, like throughout their whole lives, and his son is kind of fed up of hearing these stories because he's like, oh, these are way too extravagant, that couldn't have happened, you're full of it, like these are tall tales. But like, and it just shows like through his eyes his life, like leading up to that point. And it's such a crazy ride the whole way. A lot of stuff going on in his life.
Okay, no, I'm gonna check it out. Thank you for the suggestions. They keep coming. I got a lot
Yeah,
of
of
catching
course.
up.
Yeah, I'm full of it. And I guess this question kind of fell into the previous question. What I was going to ask you, what your biggest fear was, and if it's the same as the being in the tight spaces and being claustrophobic, I guess we already have our answer. But that was going to be my next question.
You got yours. No, yeah,
Yep,
claustrophobic is it's scary. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now we did talk about which horror film impacted you, the most, and that being The Shining. Was that the first horror film you watched, or what was the very first one that you ever can remember seeing?
I think it's not really a horror film, but the earliest memory that I have of being scared from watching something was actually from a comedy film called Ghostbusters 2. And I don't know why, but in that film, that painting of that, I don't know, that king or whatever, but man, that painting was terrifying for me. And there's one scene as well where the baby gets kidnapped by like the guy who's helping the guy, the painting out, and he's like riding a little bicycle and his like arm extends or something. I don't know, but that scene was just so creepy, man. And I think that was like the
Yeah.
first time I felt fear, from watching a film. But if it's not, if that doesn't count, then I'd say I think The Grudge. Oh no, sorry, not The Grudge. The Ring. The Ring 1 or
The
2.
Ring.
I think the earliest. I remember watching that very, very young, which is not a film to watch young.
Yeah, and it's funny. I love Ghostbusters, and I consider that kind of like a cross between horror and comedy.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, you mentioned the painting, and the villain in that was actually also named Nikolai.
No way, really.
Yeah,
I
Nikolai the Carpathian.
was he-
Yeah.
Was it his character name or was it the actor's name?
I think that was his character name. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it was.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah. I guess that's so much.
Yeah, it was. He was called by that, and then they also called him Vigo. So he had like two names, but they mentioned Nikolai, and I was like, that's funny that you say that because you both share the same name. That's funny. So I guess I had another question, and you already answered that too. Wow, I'm getting so many answers without even asking my questions. But you told me that you had gotten the role for Winnie the Pooh. You're always a step ahead of me. You got the role from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey because of doing the Killing Tree. Is that what you had mentioned earlier? Okay.
Correct.
Wonderful. My question was going to be how you landed the role, but yeah, we got it.
There you go.
So I just have a few more for you. What would you like etched in your tombstone one day when that day comes?
Oh man.
I know I like to hit you with the deep questions.
We're going into deep territory now. I guess someone who just who has brought happiness and joy to people's lives. I guess that if I've died achieving that, then I can die happy, I guess. Yeah.
That is a awesome answer. I 100% agree with you. Just being able to change people's lives for the better is definitely a good legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, I think that's part of winning in life is just being the best person you can be and just bringing happiness and joy to people's lives. I think, yeah.
100% agree. Very nice. Are there any movies that you're excited to see this year that are coming out?
But there's quite a lot of films that I need to catch up on. For example, Oppenheimer. I started watching Oppenheimer. I still need to finish. Killer of the Flower Moon. It being a Martin Scorsese film and about Native Americans, and I've always been fascinated with Native Americans, so that's definitely on my radar. Napoleon looks amazing. I love historical films, so that's definitely on my radar. But if we're talking about films coming out this year, I'd say The Bike Riders with Tom Hardy. I don't know when that's coming out, but it looks very, very interesting. Very, very cool. I like the style of it. I like the whole rock and roll vibe.
Yeah, grunginess, like that grungy biker bar, but that lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's definitely intriguing.
Yeah, it definitely it reminded me a lot of Sons of Anarchy, which I was a quite big fan of.
Okay, yeah. Most definitely, yeah. That was I didn't watch all the seasons of that, but I did enjoy what I did watch of that. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Probably need to catch up on that, and then I know there was a spin-off as well, so
Oh yeah,
I have a lot of work to do as well. So going back to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, how creepy was it being on set of Pooh and Piglet's home, and also out in that 100-acre wood at night? How creepy was that being out there?
Well, the filming locations was Ashtown Forest, which is the actual forest which inspired A.A. Mills to write about the 100-acre woods. It's called Ashtown Forest, and it's in Kent. So the forest itself is beautiful. As you can see in the films, the trees are ginormous, and obviously at nighttime you're in complete pitch black darkness. So it was once the sun set, it got a bit creepy, especially being at Pooh's lair. The film, the set design, was incredible. I really loved the way they designed Pooh's lair. It definitely added that, creepiness atmosphere.
Yeah, because you could tell from his lair, like there was that animal, like the way that like the sticks and like like the tunnels, and then like, but there was also that human-like, way that they had things set up too. It was like this blend of just like how they were kind of hybrid, half man, half animal. It you could see definitely both in that lair.
Yeah, if it, as soon as he kind of comes to their den, it kind of foreshadows that things are gonna go bad. Things are not as they seem.
Right? Yeah, poor Eeyore, rest in peace. I guess he's probably good eating though. Yes, but yeah, just seeing like that scene, like you hanging in there, and like he was like whipping you, and it was just like so nasty and dark in there. I was just like, oh man, that's creepy as hell. Like I would not want to be in that lair.
I never thought I'd see the day where Christopher Robin gets whipped with Eeyore's tail, but here we are.
Yep. I mean, they went for it. They went for all of it. It was, they had to they wanted to see how far they could take it, and I'm interested to see what they do with the sequel. I'm sad that you're not in the sequel, as far as I mean, as we know.
Yeah,
part of
I don't want to get too into it, but I refused the sequel due to some creative differences.
Okay.
But I'm sure it will be a good watch, and then seeing what they've done, I think with Pooh's new look looks very interesting. So yeah, it should be a good watch.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. So I just have two more for you. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. What would be, if you were on death row and you had your the death penalty's last meal, what would you want for your last meal?
I've always been a big fan of Chinese foods, like sweet and sour chicken with egg fried rice. Man, I can't get enough of that. I don't know why. If not that, then just give me a big bucket of KFC and I'm good to go. Put me in the electric chair. I've got a full stomach. I'm good to go.
His last words were, "It's finger licking good."
Sponsored by KFC.
Awesome.
I get like a sponsorship on my last days.
I couldn't agree more. I love Chinese. I'm a big fan of like the General Tso's chicken. It's very spicy. I'm a sucker for pain though, so I love spice, and that's like my favorite. And I love like pork fried rice. It's so good. So I couldn't agree more.
What would yours like final?
Ooh, it'd probably be a combo of a few things. My wife and I make like homemade calzones from scratch. I think calzones would be one of them. I definitely think my General Tso's chicken and fried rice would be on there. And also,
I've never tried. That sounds.
Yeah. And also, man, I don't know. Like, there's a place that we like to go. I'm really into like Indian style food too. So there's like this curry that my wife and I get, and this butter chicken. I'd probably get that as well. So it'd be kind of a little smorgasbord of like my favorite things. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Nice, man. I've got to give you that.
And so my final question for you is, what's next for you?
So I'm going to be filming a concept piece soon called The Buera Assassin, which is written by Charlie Esker. and directed by Alps Life. So we should be filming, I think, sometime in March. So yeah, it's kind of like a crime drama with a little mix of fantasy to it. So it's quite exciting. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I'm quite
No.
excited for that.
Well, wonderful. I'm glad that you've got some things going on, and I'm excited to see how that turns out. I like I said, I really liked your work. And you know, I mean, I haven't seen Exit or Alien Invasion, but you know, I definitely would love to check out those films as well, because just seeing your performance in this film, I really liked you as an actor, and I am so glad that you took the time to sit on here with me today and talk about things.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me. I had a lot of fun chatting to you.
Yeah, of course, anytime. Maybe again someday when you're finished with that film or any other films, maybe we can do this again, and we can have, I promise I won't recycle the same questions. We'll do something new, and it'd be fun to chat with you again.
Absolutely. No, it'd be a pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, hey, Nikolai, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening, and also an awesome weekend. And for all you viewers out there, keep killing it out there, my friends, and just remember, don't get caught.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you. I'll see you soon.
I wanna play a game.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.